Hi, I'm Lori Spagna from Efil's God Dog Training, and Efil's God Spirit, here again with another exciting piece of information for all of you animal lovers out there. And when I say animal, I mean the human variety as well. Okay, so first of all, I just want you to remind you that Efil's God just spells dog's life in reverse, because dogs are just mirror images of us, the people they live with, and the people in their world. And they're here teaching us things that we humans don't quite realize. So today we're going to speak about the difference between what animal communication is, how it works, and how it's related to intuitive communication and also psychic communication, which has been widely misunderstood and poorly labeled and kind of abused by some people, because there are obviously phony psychics out there. So let's go over first animal communication. Animals communicate any way that they can. They are really trying to get through to us. And they use all kinds of ways to do that, whatever way they're able to. So us humans, we typically recognize their communication as things like wagging tails and barks and pants and licks and jumps. And those are physical aspects of ways that they communicate, but they actually do it in lots of other ways. And in fact, science now does document that telepathic communication between animals or with animals, or that animals do communicate telepathically. So science documents this, and we know it's true. We can say that since now science has documented it. So the thing is that actually what they do is they use all kinds of other methods. So they will actually use visual cues, that they will send a visual to anyone who's, and this is not in the physical reality. This isn't something you might see with your physical eye. This is something that you might physically see in your mind, which can be interpreted in a lot of ways. So there's visible cues. And there are also things we might hear in our mind. These are sound or auditory cues. There are also things we might taste. They might send a sensation of a taste. And they might also send a sensation of a feeling. And they're going to do this constantly in any way that they're able to. They also might send some sound cue, some auditory cue for you. So the key is to be able to understand these cues when they come through, to be able to recognize them, to be able to understand them, interpret them, and then translate them. And that's really what the animal communicator does. So part of the training of understanding how that works is understanding how to connect with those cues on a non-physical level, through your brain or through your body or through the other senses that we have access to once we learn about how to use them and interpret them. Make sense? Good. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next part of it, which is intuitive communication, which is actually quite similar. So intuitive communication is where you use just your intuitive senses, sort of your senses. You can't quite put your finger on them, but intuitively or sort of cognizantly, you sort of know something. You don't quite know how you know it, but you know it. Some people say it's their gut. It doesn't really matter what the labels are that we use to understand these things anymore, because we've just moved beyond labels. We've moved beyond our limiting labels. But intuitively is something we just sort of know. We don't know how we know it. Sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong, but generally speaking, if we really know it, we're usually right. Okay, that's intuitive. Now, a psychic communication, which has also been really misunderstood, widely misunderstood, but is now being documented scientifically, believe it or not, you don't use the word psychic typically, is where we are getting information from something greater than us or bigger or outside of us, something that I call a universal connection, which one way to access that, and these other things as well, is through a theta brainwave, where we all have this theta brainwave, but we unfortunately haven't been trained on how to use it. So this psychic kind of communication is where something comes to, the way I define it, something comes to me, not from me. It doesn't come from me. It doesn't originate from me. It doesn't originate necessarily from another human or another animal. It's just something that comes to me, and it doesn't originate with me, actually, although perhaps it does, which is a whole other conversation. So I hope that helps to shed some light, because unfortunately, the whole psychic world has been really misunderstood and really, unfortunately, abused and misinterpreted. And so there's a lot of resistance to that. When in point of fact, it's quite factual. And now scientific evidence is catching up to this. And science is being able to explain it. There are tremendous leaders in the scientific community who are giving this more and more validation. And I hope that clears things up. So if you want to learn how to use these gifts and these skills, access these gifts of your own and harness them and be able to use them, please contact me. You can learn more about me and what I do at www.efilsgodspirit.com. That's EFILSGOD spirit.com. It's all one word. I'm Lori Spagna. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.